How's everybody doing tonight? So, today, want to jump on something that's obviously right now going around the United States. Um, I don't really want to speak too much on what the whole riot, the way that they handle it, is it good or bad. I don't really want to jump into that much. I know everybody has their own opinions, but more importantly, I want to bring up, you know, we live in a world where for some people, we see a child that's born and does not matter the color. And a child can bring to some, or for most, it can bring a lot of joy to them. You see a baby that's giggling, you see them smiling. As they're growing up, you see them crawling. There's different little things that do, and just for some people, it really melts their heart. It's something that they enjoy, especially when it's your own child. Boy or girl, it does not matter. And they start growing up, they start playing with little kids, and you start seeing them being goofy, and everything's going great, everything's going amazing. But what would you do if your child would come home crying, and the only thing that they tell you is that the other kid's family doesn't want them playing with them? You see, what happens is some of these kids don't even understand that what is going on when, if it's a little black boy playing with a little white boy, with a little Mexican boy or Asian boy, it don't matter. But all of a sudden, they come home crying, or they're confused of wondering, why did their parents just take them away from me? Why aren't they allowing them to play with me? A kid doesn't understand that. A kid isn't born in a way that they hate others. It gets taught to them. And that over time, it starts to build up. What we're seeing right now, it's not something new. Um, Something what happened with George Floyd is not something new. This is something that obviously has been going on for years. It's been going on for long periods of time. The the police brutality, the way that they want to serve and protect, is not, in my opinion, and I know everybody has their own, but in my opinion, it is not one of the ways, in the way it was handled, was not one of the ways that should be handled. You see, we're taught as for kids, when we're kids, we're taught, 911 is going to be who you call for if you're having problems, if there's things that are wrong, if you need to run to safety, that's who you call. Okay, so what do you do in an instance where you're the one being the victim, and yet you're the one that's getting pinned down? You're the one that they're coming after. Or what in the situation happens when you're just walking down the street and you're pulled aside because of the color of your skin? For some people, they don't understand because it's never happened to them. For others, it happens all the time where they worry and they wonder, how am I going to get home? Do I have to cross already through a bad neighborhood? Do I already have to go and wonder if I'm going to get pulled over? That's just one of the things. For some people, they're even wondering about, if I do get pulled over, if an officer does question me, is he going to believe me? And I'm not saying that every officer is bad. I'm not saying that, because there are some officers out there in the force that have a good mentality. They have respect. It does not matter the color, it does not matter the race, and that's how it should be. It doesn't matter if you're black, you're brown, you're white, yellow, it doesn't matter. What should matter is, if somebody is in need of help, they do it appropriately. Yeah, there's precautions you have to take, but they have to be aware. And one of the things that I've seen, and I do agree, is it goes back into, are they properly trained? Is an officer properly trained to handle a tough situation? We handle, when I say we, people who work in retail and service, anything like that, they deal with customers, and there's some customers that, they have gone to a little beyond. They're getting very angry, and we as that have to understand and know how to handle that situation. There is some people that don't know how to handle a very stressful, hard situation like that. And in that same sense, an officer should be trained enough to be able to de-escalate a situation like that. Because when it starts getting rough and they can't handle that pressure, and the first thing they want to do is hurt somebody or make them feel pain, that's not the best way to do it. When I go back into talking about how with young kids, it happens a lot where some of the kids are growing up that they're close as little kids. They're growing up and they're having fun, and eventually their friends getting separated, and it's perfectly okay at the moment when they were children, but as they're growing up, the parent might say, "Hey, I don't want you hanging out with that kid no more. Uh, don't go out with them," stuff like that. And in a sense of, there's some kids that they're respectful, they're very caring, they're very kind. They don't matter. It does not matter about the race. It does not matter about the color. But yet they're still getting separated. As far as friends, they have to get only certain friends are allowed to be around them. And sometimes it's only a specific color. I know that for me, I was taught that it doesn't matter. The color does not matter. The race. If you're respectful to me, I'm respectful back. If you're not, then I'm just excluding myself. But there's other parents that I've taught the kids, if they're a specific color, you don't associate with them. And in all actuality, when they start growing up and they start having this hatred on a specific color because they're getting constantly, in a figuratively said, beaten in their mind to believe that this specific color, this specific race is not supposed to be in their, you can say, in their area, in their bubble, in their field, that can turn into something ugly. And I know, like I said, that there's so many things that people can say about what's happened with George Floyd, as far as, people have said, do you understand what he was going through? Do you understand his past history or anything like that? And, there are certain things that, yeah, I did not look into. But when I still watch the video or how he's just asking, or he's saying, I can't breathe, that to me is pain. Because, for one, it doesn't matter, you already got somebody handcuffed. That shouldn't matter. If they can't breathe, you back off. They're handcuffed. They ain't gonna go much of a location. They're handcuffed. Let them breathe. They're human. Whatever they did wrong, if you already got a handcuff, if they're gonna be taken to court, they get handled there. Government wise, court wise, that's a whole nother level to it. It's a whole nother topic. As far as there's some people that don't get punished correctly, and like I said, that's just a whole different topic. I'm not even gonna get that deep into that, but in my opinion, in the way that the officers handle the situation, it is not in a way that me personally I would feel safe for ever trying to call an officer. Now, and I know in different areas, there's, like I said, not all officers are the same way, but that bad vibe can put an officer that has much respect, that has love and care to protect the community, it can bring that person feeling like they can't be trusted. And that's sad, because there are good officers out there. There are good people out there that are in the force trying to do better for the community. But because of some of the officers making this whole thing a corruption, that really starts to bring that negativity down for them. And what do we do as people? Obviously right now, what they're doing, protesting, the rioting, there's all sorts of different things right now. With some of it, I don't agree. With others, I do. And, the way that it's going down right now, and I have tried to put my open mind into it of, good and the bad. Yeah, there's certain ways that they can be handled, there's other ways, but when it goes back is that how many times will it take for people to protest, for people to do something, and to make it loud enough that the department of the police department's gonna understand, for the government, how much does it take for them to finally understand what is actually going on? I personally, I feel, and it's sad because I have friends that are black and I feel for them, that in certain areas, when I went to school, there's some from Chicago that said I couldn't even walk down the streets because of my color of skin. And that to me is sad. And we're not even talking about the gangs. We're not talking about people out there just robbing, just doing dumb things. We're talking about police officers just pulling them aside and questioning them for things that they never even did, or just question them just in general. And that is not something that should be right of what's going on. But to me, it's like it doesn't matter the race. Every life should matter in the way that we live. I mean, if you're white, if you're black, if you're brown, it does not matter. And that's something that right now people are seeing, okay, black people, there's white people, there's Mexicans, anything and everyone, they're out there protesting stuff. But what they're really protesting and what they're really trying to show is that when is this going to stop? How many years is it going to take for there to be a movement, to be an action to come upon and say, all right, if an officer does such a thing, they're going to get punished correctly. Well, like I said, going back to just a little bit, an officer that goes in and does what they do, as far as they beat an innocent man or they kill an innocent man or someone that really wasn't a threat, to do that sentencing, all they get is taken off the force for a little bit, get suspended, and get to come back, or they're completely eliminated. They're not allowed to be in the force. That's one thing, but they don't get punished like, not all of them. I should say, not all of them get punished like any other civilian out there, and that to me is where it's not right. There should be some sort of way that they get justice as for the people. There should be some sort of way that they get to be punished. Um, you know, Going on probation for a little bit, because they killed somebody. That, no, it's not going to just fly, especially for a lot of these people. There has to be a little bit more, because if anybody out there was feeling threatened and they killed and shot somebody, they're not going to jail, or they're not going to be on probation. They're more likely going to go to jail. But when an officer does it, what's the difference? And I'll put this out there, and I know that people have their own opinions, but for me, it shouldn't matter that if they carry a badge. It shouldn't matter how high up in a rank they are, if they're a chief, if they're part of like a governor. It does not matter. If you do something that is not right, you shouldn't just be allowed to just walk away and basically just a slap on the wrist. There should be more to it. If any of us do anything like that and we get punished or we're sent to jail, it should be the same way. Again, the court system is another thing where they don't always get the proper punishment for everybody. But as we go day by day, sometimes we have to also think about, how do we stand? How do we make this not occur again? One of the things that, and it's easier said than done, and I know that. But in the situation with Mr. Floyd, a lot of people were recording, and that's one of the good things that we have in this time of age that we can actually record, we can actually, be videotaping of what's going on, so there's proof. But in that sense, there's gonna be protests, there's gonna be riots, things after the matter that happens. In my thinking, I would say that it would be great that we can do it before it ever occurred. So if somebody, and what I'm saying by this is that if somebody was seeing this, they're standing there and they're visually seeing, recording that, hey, this man can't breathe and the officer is not getting off of him, that is not right. Regardless of what he did right now, the man should at least be living. The man should have that opportunity to live and go face court and face whatever punishment he's supposed to face, if that's what they're going to do. And that's when you should step in. It's no different than when we was back in school and there's two kids fighting and a teacher interferes and jumps in and separates both of them. That's no different than right now for us to step in and say, hey, yeah, you have a badge, but that man is human. That man should still be breathing. That man should still have the opportunity to be alive. Matters like this then happen, where then we have to sit and we have to start questioning a lot more of what's going on with our departments. It's already one bad enough that this isn't the first time. It's been happening on and on. And that's only what's been shown to us. Social media, the news, only so much is only reported. Now, when we go back into, like I said, some of the police officers, it doesn't matter if they're black, white, brown, red, yellow, it does not matter. For some of them, that it's not even being reported. Yeah, there's some officers that are killing white people. There's some officers that are killing brown people. They're killing yellow people, red. It doesn't matter to them. And not everything is getting reported. But that is the fact that we should stop. Is that police brutality from some of these corrupted officers is where it should stop. There's a lot of amazing officers out there. There's a lot of amazing workers in the force that are doing the best for the community. And those people, they feel like they can't do much right now because some of those people feel like the rest of the community is hating on them as a unit, which I understand. But those people that are trying to do the best for as serving and protecting the community, what can they do right now? Some of them, they're trying to speak up to say, I don't agree with my fellow officers. I don't agree with the fellow people at such and such department and state, whatever. That is what they're trying to do because they don't want to be associated with that type of mentality, with that type of physical abuse to the community. And that I give huge props. I salute to those officers because that is something that should be recognized. When I tell you that some of this happens from such a young age, it does. There's some of the and I can't say for every single person, but I know that for some of these officers, they probably lived that life since they were children, that there's a certain color or a certain race that just shouldn't go with them, that shouldn't be followed with them. So they're always told, hey, if you see them, these are people you should hate. These are people that are no good, that they've done this and that bad. And they grow with that mentality. I know that that's not a way to justify what they do is correct, and that's not. But that is something that has affected them from their life as growing up, and it's taken them into this position. That, to me, is something where it should be stopped and be like, okay, I'm sorry, but you're here to serve, you're here to protect, regardless of the race that you are in that community, regardless of their color. To go back in time, it was way worse. As we go now in time, there's more unity between different races, but it still continues. And I just sit back and wonder, when is it going to stop? When will it change? That is something that, what do you do? And I know right now that what's going on in certain areas, it has become a huge disaster. And that's just going to be, upon how the government's going to see it, how the police department's going to see it. But as the rest of us that don't agree with how the officers handled the situation, there should still be a certain way that we can try to help and support, and saying that as far as supporting that what they're doing is not right, that we have to figure out a different way to getting the officers that are not helping out to protect and to serve the community correctly, to get them out. I don't want to have my children be growing up and having to tell them, you know, you have to be careful of an officer because you don't know what you might do, what you might say can set them off. It shouldn't have to be that way. And there's certain parents, they tell their kids, you just don't call the police department. You don't do nothing with them. You don't associate with them because of the color of your skin. And that's not right. That should not matter. So I know, like I said, everybody has their own opinion. Everybody has seen, different aspects in life and different things on the news. I just kind of leave it there to just let you recognize what's going on. And like I said, back to with my opinion, like I just don't follow along with the way the officers are going about it. And I really hope that there is a change because it's sad to see so many people hurt and so many innocent lives taken, especially for something that could have been changed differently. And we're in 2020. We're in a place where people aren't going to stay quiet no more. People aren't going to just let that go. If you agree with what is going on, the police officers, had all the right. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with that. I do feel that what they did was not correct as far as humanity wise. Regardless of what he did, this is not something that you should continue doing. I'll leave it like this. And I know some people don't agree, but if you aren't allowed to take a stand by going on a knee, by taking a knee at a football game, it shouldn't be okay to put your knee on somebody's neck to a point that they can't breathe and eventually end up dead. Taking a knee on a football field didn't kill nobody. But putting a knee on somebody's neck took someone's life. And that is the same reason why that person took a knee on the field. To stop that police brutality. When will it stop? When will the minds of these officers that are corrupted change? Or when will the higher ups recognize it's time to make a positive difference? So I'll leave you with that. Other than that, don't let everything that's going on affect you in a bad way. Stay positive. I really hope that the rest of your night goes well. I don't mean that. I know usually different talks try to boost you up, give you positive feedback, and this one was a little bit different, but just something that felt I needed to be out there. I really hope you have a good night, and hopefully you can join us next week. Thank you.